You're watching Forsaken Joe. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the story. Let's begin. When Laura said the words trial separation, she was so calm, it made me sick. We were sitting at our kitchen island. I was halfway through my coffee, boots still wet from the rain, duffel bag packed and sitting by the door. She waited until the very last morning, not a day before, to drop it on me like a spreadsheet update. 2 weeks, no rules, just space to think, she said, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear like she was talking about a spa retreat. I blinked. You serious? She nodded. I've already packed. I'll stay at the condo. My name's David Harrington. I'm 43. I work offshore on deepwater oil rigs, Gulf of Mexico mostly. 15 years in the field without a single accident. I take pride in that. Laura always called it pipe work, like it was some ditch-digging job I stumbled into after flunking out of junior college. We met at a charity auction in Austin. She was sleek, polished, magnetic. Ran an art gallery downtown and always had the right people on speed dial. I wore a Wrangler button-down and boots that still smelled like crude. Somehow, it worked, at least for a while. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. We got married after 9 months. Whirlwind-type romance. I worked 28 on, 28 off. Offshore rotation life. She didn't love it, but she tolerated it. Said she liked her space. Over the years, that space turned into silence, then distance. Her gallery exploded. She started flying out to LA, New York, Basel. Always hosting someone, always moving art. She was never home when I came off rotation. We'd fight, make up, rinse, repeat. I still remember the way she looked that morning. Leather weekender bag at her feet, not a wrinkle in sight. Her gallery blazer still on the hanger by the door, like she was heading to a show, not walking out on 15 years of marriage. I laughed once, not because it was funny, because I couldn't process the sheer guts it took to plan this around my departure schedule. No rules, I asked, holding back the heat in my throat. Just time. No pressure. I need to see what I really want. What she wanted was already on her calendar. She walked out like it was nothing, keys in one hand, phone in the other. Didn't cry, didn't even say goodbye. I stood in the doorway for 10 minutes after she left, listening to the rain ping the gutters. My coffee had gone cold, so had everything else. And I still had a damn plane to catch. I didn't get on the plane. Instead, I stood at the kitchen counter that same morning and called my supervisor, told him I had a personal emergency and needed to take 2 weeks of leave. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Take care of what you gotta take care of, Harrington." That was the first time I'd ever missed a rotation in 15 years. 15 years without so much as a late arrival. Offshore work runs on structure, on discipline. I followed that code like gospel. But that morning, none of it meant anything. The house was quiet, too damn quiet. I walked the place like a ghost for hours. Opened drawers I hadn't touched in months. Every room looked perfect, like a magazine spread. Her favorite candles, fluffed pillows, that stupid geometric fruit bowl on the dining table. She didn't just leave, she staged it. By evening, I still hadn't slept. My boots were still by the door. Her perfume still lingered in the hallway. I figured I'd give her the space she claimed she needed. Maybe take a road trip, clear my head, see my brother up in Tulsa. Let her play out whatever fantasy she thought she needed to get through. Then, just over a day later, I got a notification on my phone. A tag on social media. I almost ignored it. She knew I barely checked the damn thing. But something made me open it. And there it was. Laura, in a tight red dress I'd never seen before, laughing with some guy in a rooftop bar. The caption read, "Celebrating new beginnings. Hashtag art and passion. Hashtag visionaries. Hashtag Marcus Reed Gallery." I had to read it twice. Marcus Reed. The name hit me like a slap. She'd mentioned him before, called him her protege, said he had an eye for modern sculpture and a talent for building client lists. She talked about him like a project, not a person. Now, he was all over her timeline, hands on her waist, both of them beaming like a damn ad campaign. There were 5 photos. 5. Each one worse than the last. One had her kissing his cheek. Another had him holding her champagne glass. It didn't look like a fling, it looked like a launch party. She didn't just move on, she curated it, like one of her gallery shows. Lighting, location, wardrobe, hashtags, All intentional. She wanted me to see it. I sat down on the edge of the bed. The screen was still lit up with her smile, her red lips parted mid-laugh. That look used to be mine. I scrolled through the comments, her followers gushing about how powerful they looked together, how bold the pairing was. Someone called them the future of contemporary. That was the word that stuck. Future. She wasn't testing space. She was replacing me. My jaw locked. I closed the app and tossed the phone across the bed. It landed face down, buzzing again with another comment, another knife to the gut. I went to the kitchen, yanked open the fridge, grabbed a beer, and cracked it open without thinking. I don't even like beer. But it was cold, and my hands were shaking. The light from the fridge glowed on the note she'd left on the counter. Just a scribbled, "Don't overthink this. Just 2 weeks." Bullshit. That red dress said otherwise. That rooftop toast said otherwise. And that name, Marcus Reed, was about to be burned into the front of my damn brain. I barely slept. Her red dress, her fake laugh, that smug look on Marcus's face. It played on a loop in my head. I stared at the ceiling until sunrise, eyes dry, heart thudding like a loose engine belt. By noon, I wasn't angry. I was locked in. If Laura was going to turn this into a performance, I needed to see what was behind the curtain. So I pulled the home office keys out of the junk drawer and got to work. I hadn't touched those file cabinets in years because I trusted her. She managed the gallery, paid the shared bills, handled the taxes. I brought in steady money and kept my head down. That was the deal. The first red flag hit in less than 30 minutes. A wire transfer, $15,000, from our joint savings to something labeled Reed and Company, Curation. I'd never heard of it. Definitely never approved it. Then I found another, $8,000 for something called Colorworks Archive Logistics. Again, out of our joint. No note, no paper trail besides the transaction itself, buried under bank printouts and end-of-year folder labels. I kept digging. My hands moved faster the more I found. 23,000, 11,000, random amounts spaced out over 2-3 years, all tied to names that sounded just fancy enough to pass for real. I finally hit the bottom drawer, tax records, and that's where my gut fully dropped out. There were gallery expense sheets under Harrington Household, with my name listed as guarantor, documents I didn't recognize, contracts I never saw, and worse, signatures that looked like mine but weren't mine. I froze. She forged my name, not once, not by mistake, dozens of times. Loan guarantees, purchase agreements, fake consulting fees paid out to art shell companies. I recognized maybe half the vendors, the rest. Never heard of them. I wasn't just married to Laura. I was propping her entire empire up. She used my clean record and stable income to run high-risk purchases, push inflated art values, and move cash without anyone asking questions. She had her hands deep in every account we shared, sometimes even the retirement one. I stared at a document dated 2 years ago. A gallery equipment lease under Harrington Consulting LLC. I don't have an LLC. Never did. My fists clenched. This wasn't betrayal. This was premeditated. 3 years, minimum. She'd been siphoning off my life, one transaction at a time, while smiling in my face and saying she just needed space. And Marcus. He wasn't just a new fling. He was probably her partner in all of this. Maybe longer than I knew. I pushed back from the desk, heart pounding like a war drum. My shirt was damp with sweat. I stood there for a minute, staring down at the mess on the desk. Receipts, statements, folders. The facts didn't lie. She didn't fall out of love. She ran a damn operation, and I was the fool who financed it. I walked straight to the safe in our bedroom closet, punched in the code, and pulled every hard copy of our investment accounts. Just in case, I wasn't about to let her drain anything else while playing house with that fraud in skinny jeans. No more guessing, no more waiting around like some chump hoping his wife finds her way home. She didn't just use me as a husband, she used me as cover, and now I wanted the truth, all of it. The next morning, I drove straight into downtown Houston and walked into the offices of Stanley Weiss. High-rise, corner office, no-nonsense secretary. The kind of guy who didn't blink at messy divorces or hidden money. I sat across from him in a plain blue polo and jeans, dropped a thick folder on his glass desk, and said, "My wife's stealing from me, and she's getting bold about it." Weiss didn't flinch. He opened the folder, glanced through a few of the forged documents, then leaned back and steepled his fingers. "Tell me everything." So I did. The gallery, the transfers, the fake vendors, Marcus Reed, the red dress, all of it. When I finished, he nodded once and said, "You came to the right place." He laid out the strategy fast. First, move all my direct deposits into new accounts under my name only. Protected, firewalled, untouchable. Then pull my name off anything shared, especially that Gallery LLC. He called in a forensic accountant he'd worked with before, some retired IRS guy who specialized in art transactions and tax shelters. I liked him immediately. Quiet, sharp, no fluff. Weiss told me the golden rule: no contact, not a word to Laura, no texts, no warnings. If she smelled me coming, she'd have time to move funds, cover tracks, play the victim. We'd build the case first, then we'd hit all at once. I followed his orders to the letter. While they combed through every record, I kept pulling more from the house. USB drives, emails, even physical receipts tucked into desk drawers. Anything that smelled like a cover-up, I tagged and filed. Meanwhile, Laura's social media turned into a damn art world circus. New posts daily. Her in champagne bars with Marcus, her in galleries, laughing with collectors, always tagged in the same style. Hashtag art plus passion. Hashtag vision in motion. Hashtag Reed Gallery takeover. In one, she was pouring Dom Perignon into Marcus's mouth. In another, she was sprawled across a white leather couch in what looked like a private viewing room, wearing a satin blouse and barely there heels. The caption read, "Curating more than art these days." It wasn't subtle, it was a grenade. But every post just sharpened my edge. Every smirk from her and Marcus pushed me deeper into the grind. I wasn't about to let them turn me into some background casualty. I had spent 15 years in the most dangerous job zones in America and walked away clean. This was math, this was strategy, this was fixable. I kept my head down and my mouth shut. At night, I ran drills in my head. What if she changed the locks? What if she drained the rest of the accounts? What if she tried to drag my name down when things flipped? Weiss said we were close. Just a few more documents to lock in, a few more records to pull from our investment firm. Once we had everything verified, we'd go full throttle. He grinned when he said it, like he'd been waiting for a case like this. I didn't smile back, because this wasn't just about money. This was about being used, lied to, dismissed like my life's work meant nothing, just pipe work, while she painted this fantasy version of herself with my damn paycheck. I wasn't here for revenge. I was here to pull the plug, and every photo she posted was one step closer to the shutdown. By the 5th day, the forensic guy called me into Weiss's office. No small talk. He just pushed a folder across the desk and said, "This goes beyond sketchy." Inside were purchase orders for art pieces that didn't exist. Same paintings sold multiple times to different buyers, cash flowing in and out through recycled shell companies. A couple names popped up more than once, all linked to addresses that trace back to P.O. boxes in Miami and New York. "Laundering," the accountant said flatly. "Your wife's gallery is a front." I didn't even flinch. I just nodded and said, "How deep am I?" "Deep enough to be on every financial statement since 2021, he said. "She tied you to damn near every transaction. Loans, sales, reimbursements, all of it." I sat back, fists clenched. She didn't just use me to fund her ego. She used my clean record to run something dirty. Weiss leaned forward. "We're getting close. Once we verify a few more transfers, we lock this down." I stood up. "Then keep going." That same night, another post hit my feed, Laura again. This time in our backyard, my backyard, throwing what looked like a private tasting. Candlelight, string lights, 12-person table, catered food. Marcus standing right beside her, holding a wine bottle like he owned the place. The caption, "Where love meets legacy. Home is wherever art lives." I nearly snapped my phone in half. The next morning, the forensic guy showed up again with something that made my blood run cold. A forged deed transfer, dated 3 days prior. She'd started filing to move our house into her name alone. Not talk about selling it, not split it, take it. I couldn't breathe for a second. "She was gonna lock me out while I was offshore," I said. Weiss didn't hesitate. "We trigger on day 14. That gave us just under a week. No delay. No chance for her to twist the narrative or lawyer up first. I gave the green light. That was it. No more planning, no more waiting. Every document she'd forged, every dollar she rerouted, every lie she smiled through, it was all going in the file. Her fantasy was about to implode in public view, and she had no clue it was coming. Day 14 started early. Weiss called me at 6:45 a.m. sharp. "We ready?" he asked. "Trigger it," I said. By 7:30, the courier had left his office with the divorce packet. Full separation, documented financial misconduct, asset freeze request, delivery address, her gallery, where she and Marcus were prepping their next show. Real classy spot to get served. At 7:48, our joint checking accounts were frozen. Every credit card she had access to, locked. My name was off anything we shared. She couldn't move a penny without my signature. At 8:12, Weiss's team hit the investment firm with a disclosure package. Timeline, statements, flagged transfers. No accusations, just the truth, laid out in neat little bullets. And at 9 a.m., an anonymous email landed in the inboxes of select clients, collectors, and 2 Art World blogs Laura practically lived to impress. Subject line, "Review only, discrepancies noted in Reed/Harrington transactions." Inside was a curated data dump, no commentary, just files, dates, money trails, and fake invoices. All real, all hers. My phone lit up at 9:22. Laura. "What the hell is this?" Laura. "You're making a mistake." Laura. "David, answer me. We need to talk now. I put it on, do not disturb." By 10:15, she'd switched tones. Laura. "This is a misunderstanding." Laura. "Why would you do this to me?" Laura. "Can we at least talk in person?" Weiss shook his head when I showed him. Standard pattern. Denial, manipulation, then guilt. Do not respond. I didn't. By noon, she was back to rage. Laura. "You think you're going to come out clean? You're not." Laura. "I'll bury you in court." Laura. "You have no idea what you've just done." Weiss smirked when he read that one. She's rattled. By 2 o'clock, 2 gallery clients had forwarded the anonymous email to their attorneys. By 3 o'clock, the blog post went live. Just the data, no spin, but that was enough. The comment section exploded. I was staring at my laptop when the receptionist at Weiss's office buzzed in over speaker. "She's here." He glanced at the clock. Right on schedule. We stepped into the hallway. Through the glass, I watched Laura pacing the lobby in 5-inch heels and a power blazer, holding her phone like it owed her money. She looked tired, not broken, just off, like she hadn't expected someone like me to fight back. Weiss gave the nod. His office manager hit the silent alarm. Security arrived in under 2 minutes. She saw me as they walked her toward the elevator. Her eyes locked on mine, half fury, half disbelief. I didn't blink. She tried to speak, but the guards kept her moving. When the doors closed, I finally exhaled. Weiss turned to me. "That was your leverage walking out." I nodded. "She'll be back. She won't come through the front door next time." And he was right, because this wasn't just a divorce anymore. This was containment, and we just shut the system down. The second the elevator doors shut behind Laura, Weiss turned to me and said, "Time to insulate." By the end of that same day, we'd filed full disclosures with the IRS, SEC, and 2 federal financial watchdogs. Not to accuse, just to report. A paper trail, logged with time-stamped records. I wasn't going down for anything that started in her gallery. It gave me breathing room, legal shield up, weapons down. 3 days later, just after midnight, I got another text from Laura. "You don't know who you're messing with." T doesn't lose. No punctuation, no smiley face, just cold. I showed it to Weiss that morning. He didn't shrug it off. He called a private security firm by lunch. By evening, we had a name, Tessa Blackwood. I remembered it immediately. Laura had name-dropped her once during a dinner with clients, said she was a silent investor with taste. Turns out Tessa was a hell of a lot more than that. Mid-50s, Palm Beach money, connected in ways that don't show up on Google. Her name was buried in property deeds, blind trusts, offshore art holdings. Ruthless reputation, paid in cash, traveled by private jet, never left fingerprints. And she'd been funneling money through the gallery for at least 18 months. Not just buying art, laundering it. Marcus, the golden boy, was more than just Laura's sidekick. He was tied to Tessa from way back, part-time dealer, full-time opportunist. He handled acquisition, movement, fake appraisals. Tessa handled the banking, and Laura. She was the storefront, the pretty face with just enough gallery clout to make it look clean. I couldn't tell if she knew everything, but she knew enough to text a warning using T like it meant something. On day 15, she broke radio silence. Laura, I want to talk. No lawyers, just us. Weiss raised an eyebrow. She's nervous. Let's meet, I said. But we choose the ground. We booked a suite at the Rosewood in Dallas, halfway between her world and mine. Weiss's security firm swept the room in advance, cameras disabled, 2 guys parked in a Suburban downstairs. Not paranoia, insurance. She arrived 5 minutes late. Same oversized sunglasses, same sleek blazer. But her hair wasn't done. Her posture was off. She looked tired, not scared, just drained, like someone who'd finally run out of spin. I opened the door, stepped aside, and said nothing. She walked in slowly, looking around like she expected someone else to jump out. When the door clicked shut behind her, she finally spoke. You didn't have to humiliate me. I didn't respond. She turned to face me. You could have talked to me before going nuclear. I gave you silence. You filled it with fraud. She looked down, lips pressed tight. You don't know what I was dealing with. You picked your side when you brought Tessa into our finances. Her eyes flicked up. That name hit. I didn't have a choice. No, I said. You had a plan. She exhaled. What now? I pointed to the chair across from mine. Now you tell me why you thought I'd just roll over. She didn't sit. She paced, and I let her. Because this time, she was the one reacting. Laura finally sat down, legs crossed tight, fingers tapping the armrest like she was buying time. You don't get it, she said, eyes locked on the carpet. You blew up something bigger than you understand. I understand just fine, I said. I saw the bank wires, the forgeries, the fake invoices. You built your little empire on my name. She scoffed. You think this was just about money? No, I think it was about control. You had it, now you don't. That cracked her. She looked up, jaw tight, tears threatening, but they didn't fall, too rehearsed. You weren't there, David, she said. You were offshore. Always offshore. You don't know what I had to do to keep things running. I didn't tell you to commit fraud. You made that decision all on your own. She leaned forward, voice low. T doesn't play fair. You think I dragged you into this on purpose. She doesn't take no for an answer. She owns people. You should be afraid. She's not the only one with power, I said. Laura narrowed her eyes. She'll bury both of us if this keeps going. I filed disclosures, I said, calm and flat. I'm clean. You're not. She sat back, exhaled hard. So, what's your endgame here? You want to ruin me? No, I want out. Clean, fair, quiet. I pulled the manila envelope from my bag and slid it across the table. Inside was the original divorce proposal, 50-50 split. She keeps the gallery name. I walk with the property and all personal retirement assets. No lawsuits, no press. She opened it, skimmed the terms, her lips curled into a half smile. Bitter. You think I'm going to just sign this? I think you're out of moves. Laura stood, pacing again, one hand on her hip. She didn't say anything for a while, just stared at the wall like it held answers. Then she turned, voice sharp. You walk away fine. But don't think for 1 second this ends clean. T's not just some rich bitch playing with art. She has teeth. She's watching this. She's already on the radar, I said, and she's not invisible anymore. She flinched. That's when I knew I'd hit the nerve. You have no idea what you're walking into, she said. This wasn't supposed to go this far. It didn't have to, I said. But you couldn't stop. You kept performing like I wasn't watching. Now I am. She crossed her arms. You'll regret this. Maybe, but I'll regret staying more. We stood there, quiet, heavy air between us. She grabbed the envelope off the table, shoved it in her purse without another word. I'll think about it. Don't take too long. She started toward the door, then paused, back still to me. You were never supposed to be in this. I didn't answer. She left without looking back. It was close to midnight when my phone lit up again. Blocked number, just a single message. Smart move. Reed and wife leaving country, private airfield, 5 a.m. Wife. Not girlfriend, not partner. Wife. I sat up straight. The message wasn't from Laura. I knew that instantly. Too cold, too intentional. I ran a quick search from the hotel Wi-Fi. There it was, buried in some digital gallery feature from Asia. Marcus Reed and Tessa Blackwood, married 6 months earlier in Bali, private estate, no press release, no social posts. Just one blurred photo of them in white linen, holding hands on a dock. I forwarded the text to Weiss. He called in less than a minute. "You want to move on this?" "We're not sitting this out," I said. We met just outside the perimeter of a private airfield near Tyler. Weiss brought his head of security, former military, eyes like ice, and 2 guys in a black SUV. We parked on a service road, no lights, just enough sightline to the tarmac. At 4:52 a.m., the jet rolled up to the edge of the runway, sleek, silver, unmarked, engine quiet but ready. Then came a black Escalade, dust kicking up behind it. I saw Marcus first, baseball cap low, hoodie pulled tight. He popped the back hatch and started unloading hard silver cases. Not luggage, too flat, too heavy. Article. Tessa stepped out second. She wasn't hiding. Designer coat, hair up, all sharp edges and posture. She walked like she'd done this before. Private escape routes, timed takeoffs, silence. I couldn't hear her voice, but her hands moved fast, gesturing at Marcus, at the plane, at the cargo. Then the airport security lights flared. 2 unmarked cruisers rolled in from the east gate. No sirens. Just clean approach. Marcus froze. Tessa didn't. She bolted for the jet steps, yelling something at the pilot. One officer sprinted after her. The second cruiser cut off the Escalade. I leaned forward, heart hammering in my throat. Tessa made it halfway up the stairs before she was grabbed. Not tackled, just stopped. Professional, controlled. Marcus didn't even run. He dropped the last case and raised his hands before anyone said a word. They were both cuffed quietly. No press, no spotlight, just clean removal. The cases were loaded into a third vehicle. Weiss's guy whispered something into a radio and gave me a thumbs up. "This won't stay quiet for long," he said. I didn't care. We got back on the road just before sunrise. Weiss didn't speak much, neither did I. At 9:14 a.m., I got a call from the investigator tied to our IRS disclosure. Laura Harrington was arrested at her gallery this morning, wire fraud and conspiracy to commit. I didn't even flinch. The woman who'd walked out of our house like she had all the cards was now sitting in a holding room with no cards left. I looked out the window of the truck, sun just breaking over the trees. The air felt sharp, clean. 2 days after the arrests, Laura folded. No lawyers, no argument. Just showed up to Weiss's office looking hollowed out and signed every line. Divorce, property, financial releases, all of it. No contest. She left behind a typed note in the envelope with the signed paperwork. One line. "I hope it was worth it." Weiss read it, handed it to me without a word. I crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. The gallery went dark within the week. Clients pulled out. Art dealers backed off. The building was emptied in 48 hours. No press release, no goodbye post. Just closed doors and peeling decals. She testified for leniency. That was the deal. Tessa's legal team made it clear they'd take the full hit as long as Laura cooperated. She did. Not because she was brave, because she didn't have any other option. They gave her house arrest and a suspended sentence. She relocated to Miami, changed her name on social, started selling small art pieces online, the safe kind, commission work, and vacation pastels. The buzz was gone. Me. I went back to work. Rig work hits different after a storm like that. I showed up sharper, cleaner. Not a damn thing left to distract me, just the sea, the steel, and the crew who didn't ask questions. I bought a small place in Corpus, 1 story, brick, nothing fancy. Got a rescue dog named Duke who hates thunderstorms and follows me around like I'm the only person left on Earth. And I started sailing. Quiet water, no engines, just wind and pull. No phone service, no signal, no drama. My job's always been about disaster prevention, watching pressure, checking systems, shutting things down before they blow. This one I didn't catch in time, but I contained it. No fire, no public collapse. Just a quiet end to something that stopped being real a long time ago. Some people call it revenge. I call it staying upright after impact.